I'm holding in my hand a 6-foot battle axe. This is my personal favorite weapon. As you can see, I'm a pretty big guy, and this is what we call a deterrent in the melees. Somebody like this, I hold this up, nobody wants to get hit with this. I'm swinging full force. I have caved in helmets, unfortunately. I have caused injuries. It's just the nature of the game. And when somebody like my size is holding up something like this, the other team, their movements are change. They're afraid, they have to come after me. It changes the way the whole melee flows.
The equipment.
Yes.
The dedication, there's got to be some type of, I mean, how do you get this stuff? I mean, you don't go to Kmart or Dick's Sporting Goods to find this. So
it'd be a lot easier if you could.
Could you walk us through the equipment? So this is what I'm hearing is this is real.
Oh yes.
This is not. This isn't fake.
This is not fake. This is real steel. It's a solid haft. We've got about a 1/4-inch nail through there to keep it pinned in place because we're swinging so hard it would fly off otherwise. You see I've bound up this here for a little bit more strength. I routinely break hafts. It's a normal thing. We're always searching for the perfect haft wood that'll last a little bit longer. We still haven't found it. We snap everything. It's all going to break sooner or later. But all the gear you're going to see here has to be historically accurate. We have to search through the old documents and the old manuscripts. We need to find illustrations and pictures and the examples in museums to recreate it as accurately as possible, so that when we do travel to the World Championships in Europe and we're fighting in a real castle, it's an amazing spectacle. It's like nothing you've ever seen in your life, man.
Take us through some of this equipment.
Happily. I'll start with the axe here. You notice it's a longer pole. It's a relatively smaller head, and part of the reason for that is axes by their nature, they're going to hit very hard, they're going to be very top heavy, but the longer a haft you put on it, the more top heavy it gets. But with a smaller head like this, not only is the impact area smaller, so it hits a little harder, but it recovers a lot easier. The less energy you have to spend recovering between shots, the more hurt you can lay down. Now to compare that with a shorter axe, thank you, this is a much larger head. You can see, this is what would be called more of a crescent axe, whereas this one's more of a traditional long axe. The crescent axe, you can see it's a shorter haft, significantly shorter. It's down around 4 feet long, which is typical for the heavier choppers. Now it doesn't have the reach of this thing, so it doesn't quite dictate the battlefield quite as much, but it's every bit as much a difference maker. If somebody drops one of these on you, you don't see it coming, that'll ruin your whole day. Now those are the weapons. Now to make sure we don't actually die doing this, we have to wear pretty extensive armor. I'll start you over here. This is a late 14th century set of armor. We've got a bassinet, like so. You can see it's taken some love. This is called an aventail, hanging off the bottom to protect the neck and the shoulders. The neck, obviously, we need a lot of protection there, so there are layers upon layers of armor there. A lot of the names of these are going to be in French, by the way, but that's the most frequent records of the armor came down through the French language. So the modern words, those are what we use. This is a late 14th century coat of plates. You can see on the inside, big steel bands like this for body protection. Not a lot for the back, not a lot at the hips. This is one of the lighter coats you're going to see. We'd wear this over a heavy padded coat just to try and soak up a little bit more damage. You can see we've got some foot protection here. They're called sabatons, just to make sure we don't get any broken toes, don't get any toenails ripped off, which still happens, sadly. You'll notice, by the way, the period footwear as well. We have to wear everything down to the shoes, down to the laces. Has to be as historically accurate as we can get it. Oh yeah. So
there's no holds bar here. I mean, your feet are, if somebody wants to crush your toes,
I need armor on my feet for a couple of reasons. Number one, if somebody dropped an axe and it happened to go down there, I would lose a toe. Guys have lost finger digits in this sport. One guy in a duel a couple years ago, an Italian, had the last digit of his finger cut off in a duel, got it bound up, and gave it to his opponent as a present. No joke, man. Let me show you a little bit of a later suit of armor, just so you get an idea of the variety here. This would be more of an early 15th century suit, and I'm going to focus on the body because that's where the biggest changes happened in that period of time. This is called a full corazina, and you'll notice it has an extra extension on the bottom to cover the hips that also comes up so that we can throw kicks, which are legal in this sport. Just like punches, you can body slam somebody if you can pull it off. Now you compare the protection of the plates of this To the earlier coat, it's a lot more inclusive, it's a lot more overlapping plates, and it's a lot safer. This is a heavier duty coat of plates than the first one you had just seen. Let me show you some of the arms too. You'll know, oh, this is one of those gambesons I told you about earlier. This is the basic layer that we wear underneath everything else. Heavy quilted padding. You'll see there's extra layers over there. We cover up the armpits because that's a valid target too, and that's one of the worst spots to get hit. There's padding on the legs, armor on top of that, and hands are one of the trickiest parts to defend. This is a pair of finger gauntlets with a clamshell overlay. This is documentable to the mid-15th century. We have pictures of these in one of the French tournament books. And the nice thing about this is you still have the digital manipulation, the fine motor control for handling like two-handed weapons, long swords. For one-handed weapons, it's less crucial, but when you have two hands on something, you need more wrist mobility, you need the finer control. This is a fantastic option. And as you can see, it's taken a little bit of damage over the years. Okay, let's see what else we can show you here. I'd mentioned the neck armor earlier. Oh, here's a different set of gauntlets. This is a basic clamshell set of gauntlets. You'll notice the excellent articulation here, the mobility. Pretty much anywhere your hand can go, the gauntlets can go with you. Compared with this, the only drawback to this is that, again, there's no individual finger manipulation. But when you are carrying around a shield and a weapon, such as this, you don't need a whole lot of fine motor control. Now, shields in this sport, this is one of the bigger examples you're going to see in the melees, aren't as much for protection as they are for laying a hurt on the opponent. They're primarily punching weapons. And believe it or not, after those big long arms that I showed you earlier, the pole axes, that's the worst thing you don't want to get hit with. Nobody wants to get hit with a pole axe. It'll ruin your whole day. The second worst shot you can take is a shield punch right to the face. Believe it or not, that is the most impact that you're going to get in this sport, is a shield punch right to your face. Just the transfer of force right through the point of a shield. It's the second hardest shot you're going to take.
I wouldn't have known that. You know, you think of the shield, like, what's that doing? But that's
yeah, it's one of the common misconceptions that doing something like this really drives home to you. Everybody, you see the movies, oh, you see swords cutting through armor, lopping off limbs. Oh man, swords, man, they're magical. You don't want to get hit with a sword. The crazy thing, and you're going to see this, swords in this sport hit very light. And that's historically accurate. The armor of this quality, the 14th, 15th centuries, swords became a status symbol because they weren't as practical anymore. They could still stab, which for purposes of not actually killing people, we don't allow thrusts. And that is also a period tournament practice. They would disallow thrusts because they didn't want knights dying. And swords, unfortunately, they just don't hit quite as hard. You get an axe, you get a mace, those will hit harder, but none of them quite have the force transfer of a shield punch.
Well, I wish you all the safety and luck today. Big guy, I'm excited to see you run around there and throwing that axe around for a little bit. So.
Oh, I should be hard to miss.
Yeah.